West Virginia simply cannot beat a team with a pulse this season as they fall to 8-4 and a heartbreaking double overtime loss to Ohio State. We're going to give you all you need to know from that one in this recap of the Mountaineers and the Buckeyes. This is the Mountaineer Moment, your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. From pregame to postgame coverage and breaking news, we've got you covered. Let's go. Welcome in, everybody, to episode 115 of Mountaineer Moment. My name is Troy. This is your source for all things West Virginia football and basketball. And West Virginia falls in heartbreaking fashion to Ohio State. You know, we talked about it coming into the game. This is yet another opportunity that West Virginia gets against a power conference opponent. Again, against a team with a freaking pulse, because you're beating up on teams that aren't good. Period. They're just not good, and those are the games you're winning. And then an opportunity presents itself against a team that's not even in the top 25. Like, these teams are okay that you're losing to, but they're nothing crazy. Toss-up games, or maybe they're not toss-ups because you've lost all four of them, right? Like, something's wrong there, and you just keep losing. You keep losing out on these opportunities, and it's frustrating. Really, really frustrating. And this one is in a heartbreak fashion. West Virginia had a 16-point lead, at some point in the second half, and then it goes to overtime. It goes to double overtime. I think it was at the end of the first overtime, West Virginia's move to try and get the, game-winning basket. Yeah, at the end of the first overtime, was Honor Huff coming around a screen, getting the ball from, I think, Jasper Floyd up top, and then tried to drive it and threw something wild up off the glass. Like, Honor Huff doesn't even shoot twos, like, ever, and so, I mean, he could have shot it from half court and probably had a better chance of making something. That was just a weird kind of thing, because Honor Huff, he does what he does from beyond the arc. That was frustrating. The call, with 6-7 seconds left, the call on Jasper Floyd being a charge when West Virginia had a break to, try and win the game at the end of regulation, and they called a charge in transition, which was just wild. That stung a lot of bit, obviously, at the end of the game. And then at the end of the game, a lot of people are upset with, West Virginia. You go down one, and then you draw up a play out of the timeout with 3.6 seconds, and your decision is to throw it to the other side of half court, and it gets intercepted and game's over, right? Like, you have 3 dribbles, get it, going toward the rim. I get it, but you don't have to throw it on the other side of that court for a 50-50 ball. I mean, what was that? And people are very frustrated about that. I'm obviously not the only one, but this is just a heartbreaking loss. Even if you didn't watch it, you can tell. A double overtime loss. Whoever was going to lose that game it's going to sting a lot, because it's a game you were in and a game you wanted to win, and you fall short. And so that's West Virginia's story again, and we talked about it on the preview episode of this game with Ohio State, and even coming out of West Virginia's Little Rock game that they played this week, where they got a 32-point victory, cruising to victory at the Hope Coliseum in Morgantown. The conversation that we were having was, okay, this cycle, is it going to stop? When is it going to stop, if it stops? Because it's getting ridiculous. It's, you beat up on teams that suck. Congratulations. You beat Mercyhurst, Coppin State, and Little Rock. Way to go. Good job. And then you lose to Clemson, Xavier, Wake Forest, and Ohio State. 4 games on neutral site courts. This is the first game that West Virginia lost in a city that's not named Charleston. But they lost in Cleveland in a neutral site game. Obviously, tons of Buckeyes fans there in their state, but West Virginia fans traveled well and, have made their presence known too when we were getting off to a lead. It was good to see. But just so frustrating, because you lose another one of these, not even a golden opportunity, right? It's just another opportunity to pick up some sort of win, not even like a super signature win. We know what this West Virginia team did in non-conference play last season. Wins over Arizona, if you count that as a non-conference game, because it wasn't part of the conference schedule. It was early in November against Gonzaga. Then you started Big 12 play. You beat Kansas, right? And the story goes on. You had quite the resume. And this Mountaineer team heading into Big 12 play in just a couple weeks, your resume sucks. You've beaten nobody. You beat Pitt. Congrats. They suck too. You've beaten all these teams that I just mentioned by a lot of points, and it's like, okay, great. Like, but when you play against another power conference team, you're losing. You're 1-4 in these games, and you're 0-4 in your last 4 opportunities. Anytime you've left Morgantown, not even the state of West Virginia, because you lost to Wake Forest and Charleston, West Virginia. Anytime you have left Morgantown, you've lost. 89-88, the final against Ohio State. We're going to get into a few specific things that few specific takeaways that I have coming out of this game, aside from the heartbreak and just the opportunity that you were given that's squandered away. A lot of this will be negative. I get it. And there were some positives. I'll just hit on those real quick. Wasn't even planning on doing that, but I'll hit on some of those real quick. There were some positives. Honor Huff's unbelievable. I mean, we knew that. And, the performance that he had, some clutch shots, late in the game, obviously, too. But 24 points for Honor Huff tonight, 5 of 13 from downtown, 7 of 17 overall. Belo had a really, really good game, perhaps his best of the season, and certainly his best in a while. 18 points and 7 of 7 from the field. Knocked down all 3 of his three-point attempts, 7 boards, 3 assists for him. Trayson Eaglestaff was aggressive, shot just 1 of 9, but better than what he did last Saturday against Wake Forest, where he didn't get a shot off. 5 points for him. Jasper Floyd, his best kind of offense performance that we've seen in a while, too. 14 points, knocked down both of his three-point attempts, and 4 of 8 from the field. Chance Moore, quiet night from the field, 2 of 10, but got to the line a lot. He might be the best player I've seen at the college level with just driving, kind of throwing something up and getting his own rebound and putting it right back in. He is so quick with that second jump. It's insane. He is very, very good at that. And again, got to the line, made his free throws, 10 of 12. 6 rebounds for him, but 5 turnovers for Chance Moore. That was costly, obviously. 14 points, 2 of 10 from the floor. It sucks, too, that West Virginia went 12 of 26 from downtown, 26 of 34 from the free throw line, right? There's not much of a complaint there. Almost 50% of your threes you knock down. You hold Ohio State to 4 of 21 from downtown, and you lose. You obviously had opportunities to put this away in regulation, in overtime, in second overtime, right? There were opportunities there where it's like West Virginia has the lead with 30 seconds left or 10 seconds left. And Ohio State either ties it or takes the lead and obviously ends the game taking the lead 89-88. But just frustrating, just incredibly frustrating. Bruce Thornton, he was the talk of everything. I think he had 21 points, but he had probably had 19 of those in the second half and overtimes. Not his best performance by any means, but did enough down the stretch to get it done. He was 1 of 8 from three-point land. Again, they were 4 of 21. You held them down in that regard. They had a pretty efficient offense coming into this game nationally. They shot just 44%, not just 44%, but they shot 44% from the field in this one. You turned them over 10 times. West Virginia had 15 turnovers themselves. So we'll talk about some specific late game management things at the end that Ross Hodge is catching some heat for. We'll talk about West Virginia once again moving on from a loss that it just sucks. That's really painful and a heartbreak. But first we're going to start with this defense. This West Virginia defense that held Ohio State to 27 in the first half. You had a 10-point lead going into halftime, feeling pretty good, and there that goes, squandered away. And there's a trend, and there was a trend through 3 games that I picked up on. I don't know if you're hearing this on other outlets, reading about it, but West Virginia's defense, the trend is this. All 4 of these losses, Clemson, Xavier, Wake Forest, and Ohio State. 4 power conference teams and 4 teams that had a 40-plus point second half on you, Ross Hodge and company. Ohio State tonight, they had 41 in the second half. They needed every single bit of that to force overtime, and they got it. Clemson had, I think, 45. Xavier, I think, had 45. Wake Forest, they had 40-plus as well. Not good. Not good. And you hang your hat on defense. This is a defensive team. This is a team that likes to slow it down. And, obviously what we're seeing, what that tells us is that your offense, if you're West Virginia, your offense simply does not score enough points in the second half to be able to give up 40-plus all of these games. That's just the facts. You are 0-4 when a team scores 40-plus on you in the second half. There's your storyline right there. That's it. There is your storyline right there. 41-point second half to force overtime for Ohio State, and then another overtime, and then they end up winning the game. So between the two overtimes and second half, Ohio State scored 62 points. So, just saying, not good. Not good. And I will say this, obviously West Virginia, this season has been, one of the top teams in the nation, scoring defense. It's inflated, man. Like, it just is. It's inflated because when we play a team with a pulse, we suck. When we play a team with a pulse, we're giving up these monster second halves that prove to be too much, and you lose the game. You don't lose. The West Virginia's not losing this game because they gave up 27 in the first half to Ohio State. They're not losing this game because, again, the game against Wake Forest was tied. The game against Xavier, they red hot nuclear from beyond the arc, but they had 36 in the first half, 42 in the second half. The game against Clemson, you had a 7-point lead. You held them to 25 in the first half, and then you gave up 45 in the second half and lost that game by 3. Again, Wake Forest, they got 41 after a 34-point performance in the first half. So you're losing these games because you're not holding the line enough defensively in the second halves of these games, period. Moving on. Ross Hodge seems to be catching some heat. 12 games into his Mountaineer coaching career, whether it's for these defensive things. And again, the reality is, we can just give a quick tie a bow on that again, tie a second bow on it, I guess, because I just said we were done. The defensive numbers that West Virginia possesses are inflated, and that's normal when you play in the non-conference schedule. Look at any team in America. You get into your conference slate, and those numbers might not be an indicator of just how good you are or how bad you are, if you could say it like that. West Virginia's defensive numbers are thanks to games that they've played against Mercyhurst and Coppin State and Little Rock and Lehigh and Campbell and Mount St. Mary's, right? And Pitt. And Pitt. 7 of your 8 wins come against teams that aren't very good. And Pitt's not very good either, but they're a power conference opponent. At least you have that. You're 1-4 against the power conference teams. Although Pitt, that win ain't gonna look too good, because Pitt's 5-6 with losses to Quinnipiac, Hofstra, an 18-point loss at Villanova today. So they kind of suck. And so your lone win, the facts are the facts. Your lone win against a power conference team is to a team that currently possesses a losing record. Congratulations. This team is in trouble, and their numbers are inflated. Their numbers are inflated defensively. They are not that good. And again, it's normal for any team, even the number 1 team in the country right now. Like, your numbers might be a little bit inflated because of your non-conference slate. But West Virginia's are pretty significant because, like, when you play against good quality teams, you're giving up 40-plus in a second half. And you've lost all 4 of those games. The key to West Virginia getting some wins under their belt against decent teams is play defense for a full 40 minutes. That's the deal there. Now, Ross Hodge, again, he's catching a little heat for late game management in this game. It's not his fault that Honor Huff stepped out of bounds, right? Whatever overtime that was, first one. The play call with 3.5 seconds left, we touched on it, throwing up a Hail Mary to jump ball to, even if we come down with that, you catch it and then you have 3 seconds, which is like an eternity, right? To get a shot off when you're right near the, and I don't know, like, you didn't have, the point is you didn't have to do that. You could have run something, getting Honor Huff, I would take my chances right now. And this is not just because you watched how it unfolded, but I would take my chances right now, 7 days a week. You get Honor Huff heading toward the hoop, catches it at the near 3-point line, heading toward the hoop, 3 seconds left, and he's going to get something off between the 3-point line and the midcourt line, and he just might make it. Like, he's that good. He just might make it. He's incredible. That shot he made in the corner, a couple of them that were really clutch. One on the wing to give West Virginia the lead late. I forget, at the end of regulation or overtime, but man, he is unbelievable. And one of the problems I have, and we've talked about it on Mountaineer Moment, is like a lot of times this offense is, all right, Honor Huff, please, please, please bail us out. And I can tell you this, I'm confident enough in Honor Huff and what he does that he is at times going to win you some games. We haven't seen it yet, right? Although against Campbell, right, we remember that one. He kind of bailed you out of that one, getting a little too close. But even against a power conference opponent here soon in the Big 12, he's going to win you some games with just the way that he shoots it. And how many, I don't know, but I think he's going to win you some games. The problem is we're relying on him so much. The offense at times, I'm not saying no one else is shooting the ball, anything like that, but at times there's sequences, there's stretches. You think of what he did against Wake Forest in the first half when he went down 12. He knocked down 3 out of 4 threes and made 3 free throws when he got fouled shooting a 3 to get 12 points real quick in the blink of an eye. And tonight, while he shot it 17 times, again, Below 7 shot attempts, Chance Moore 10 shot attempts. But those are your next 2 top scorers in this one. Not mentioning Jasper Floyd, but they have the same amount of shot attempts that Honor Huff does. Do Below and Chance Moore combined, right? 17. And so I'm not sitting here saying like that this team doesn't have other guys that aren't capable, but at times there's just moments in this game. It's like even the announcers like, Honor Huff's getting this one, or whose hands it's going to be in here. And I don't know if I always love that because you got to get these other guys involved because he's not going to be able to win you games at all times. And he couldn't, even as good as he was down the stretch in this one, he couldn't win you the game. And he played 40 minutes, put up 24 points. Below, again, really, really good night for him. But just wasn't enough ultimately. And I mean, I'm not sitting here, like, certainly not saying fire Ross Hodge or anything like that. I don't know. I mean, there's probably some people saying that. But there's definitely more on the camp that are frustrated. And I'm frustrated too, but I'm not necessarily frustrated with him. Again, the call in second overtime to throw it down the court was pretty shocking. I don't get that at all. And there's some other things we can nitpick and point out right here, but I'm not going to do it. All in all, I like our coach, and I like our team. It's just really frustrating. It's this cycle that we're trying to break. We just couldn't do it. Could not do it. And I we talked about it heading up to this game, how important it was. And even last Saturday against Wake Forest, how important that game was. And you lose both of them, and it stings. And so as we close out this episode, we just talk about this point. West Virginia is now moving on. And you got Mississippi Valley State coming up on December 22nd. And you get a little time off. Obviously, Mississippi Valley State, another team that just flat out sucks. They are 1-9 this season. Need I say more? They are 1-9. They are not good. And West Virginia continues to play teams that are not good. But pretty soon, and matter of fact, like really, really, really soon, you're going to be playing the Big 12 and you're going to be playing a gauntlet, and you have to fix it. It's a broken record. I don't know what else to say. Everybody knows it. The last 4 games against anybody with a pulse, you've lost it. You've lost those games. Whether in heartbreak fashion, whether a team gets red hot from beyond three-point land, whether, Juke Harris from Wake Forest just goes off in the second half and you have no defense for him after it was tied at halftime. Whatever the case may be, you are not winning games against anybody yet. You have not beat in a single soul yet. January 2nd, you're going to Iowa State. That might not be pretty. Cincinnati, Kansas, Houston, Colorado, Arizona State, number 1 Arizona, right? Just the month of January, Kansas State, Baylor, like just the month of January. How many wins do you see on there? Well, if the last 4 games against any team that's not even half those teams are ranked that I just routed off, you haven't played a ranked team, you still can't beat them either. And so how many wins are you going to have there? If history continues to repeat itself and you continue down this cycle, you're not going to beat anybody. So, and I don't think that's going to be true. I think Western can find a way to win some games in January. But where's it going to come from? Something's got to change. Something's got to get better. Something's got to fix. And, you came up against an Ohio State team and, this kid, Thornton, like he didn't have his best game by any means. And he was clutch down the stretch and found a way to will his team to victory, and you lost. Again. When's the cycle going to end? I don't know, but I hope it's soon. Mississippi Valley State, you're heading into Iowa State. You're going to be 9-4. Western Iowa will win that game. You're going to be 9-4. Okay, now what? Now you got to keep winning. You got to win a lot of games in the Big 12. And I hate even getting ahead of ourselves to March because there's no need for this team to think about March at all. At all. Because you're not beating anybody anyway. So, got to fix it. Got to get right. Got to start winning some of these games. Ross Hodge knows it. This team knows it. It's frustrating, though. I mean, there'd be even just a world of difference mentally, like if you won one of these. But you haven't yet. You haven't yet. So, that's the road ahead. Mississippi Valley State, a really bad team, coming to Morgantown, December 22nd, 7 o'clock ESPN+. We'll certainly have you covered. We'll have more content, basketball, football, between now and then, because that's, over a week away. But we'll have you covered here on Mountaineer Moment. This is, again, episode 115. Hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.